Hello mathematicians, Mr. Carteret here, ready to do Homelink 312. Go ahead and put your name on this if you haven't yet already, and let's begin. So question 1 is asking you to find 6 objects in your home to measure. You can use the ruler from the bottom of the sheet here uh, to help you measure the items. So first you want to measure the item in centimeters, and then measure it in millimeters, and record your objects and find their measurements. So for example, you might find a crayon would be 3.5 centimeters or 35 millimeters. So I'm anxious to see what you come up with tomorrow and when we go over the homework. So yeah, let's go on to number 2. So we're being asked here to fill in the tables, and we're going from, in the first table, going from centimeters to millimeters, and that's the bigger unit to the smaller unit. So that means we're going to be multiplying here when we go from centimeters to millimeters by 10, because we know that for every centimeter is 10 millimeters. And you can look at your ruler here down below, and you could use your ruler kind of as a measurement scale for the first couple anyway. You can look at 1 centimeter equals 10 millimeters. So again, 1 times 10 is 10. And our ruler does go up to 15 centimeters. So if you look at 15 centimeters, you'll notice that it's 150 millimeters. So now we're on to 3.7, or 3 7/10 of a millimeter. So I'm sorry, of a centimeter, and we want to know how many millimeters that is. So you're going to go times 10. And when you multiply by 10, you're basically moving your decimal point over to the right by 1. So if your decimal point is here, you're going to move it over 1. That would give you 37. So if you were to go to some examples that you know, so let's say 1 centimeter would have 1.0. If you move that decimal point over because you're multiplying by 10, you'll see that you have the number 10. And same thing here with 15 centimeters, it would be 15.0. And if you're multiplying by 10, you'll notice that it's 150. So again, when you're multiplying by 10, you're just moving that decimal point over 1 place to the right. So 49.6, if you move that decimal point over to 1 to the right, you're left with 496 millimeters. 0.8, or 8/10 of a centimeter. If you move that decimal point over 1 to the right, you will have 8 millimeters. So now on to this table, we're going from our centimeters to meters, and I like to go from the bigger unit to the smaller unit because that means you're multiplying versus dividing. So if we're going from meters to centimeters, again, you're multiplying by 100 this time because there are 100 centimeters inside a meter. So if you're going from 1 meter times 100 to give us the centimeters, it would be 100 centimeters. I'm going to skip this one for now, and we'll come back and talk about that one in a minute. Let's go here to 23.6. So just like over here where we were moving the decimal point over 1 to the right, when you're multiplying by 100, you're moving the decimal point over 2 to the right. So if we're going 23.6 times 100, we're going to take that decimal point, move it over twice. So we move it over once and move it over twice, and where that empty loop is, we need to add a 0. So it's 2,360 is our answer there. So now with 5.72, if we're multiplying by 100, we're going to move that decimal point over twice. So 1, 2, so that gives us 572. Here with 65 hundredths, we're going to move it over again to the right. 1, 2, and that would give us 65. So now if we're looking at going from the smaller unit to the bigger unit, we're actually dividing by 100 here in this case. So instead of moving the decimal point over to the right, to when we multiply, we're going to move it over to the left to divide. So if our decimal point is here, 180 point, we could just add the 0 if you wanted to. You're going to move it over to the left this time twice. You're going to go 1, 2. That would give us 1.8, or 1 8/10 of a meter. Okay, so let's go down to our practice, and now we're listing the factors for 63. Well, we start with 1 and 63. We ask ourselves, does 2 go into 63? The answer is no. Does 3 go into 63? And you say yes. So 3 times, if you did the math out, it would be 21. Does 4 go into 63? No. 5, neither, because it doesn't end with 5 or 0. How about 6? No. We know that 7 does, because 7 times 9 would give us 63. And then if we go to 8, 8 does not go into 63. And if we ask ourselves about 9, yeah, 9 times 7. And we're already repeating, so that means we have all our factors. Write all the factor pairs for 60. We'll start with the easy one. That's 1 and 60. 60 can be divided in half. So we're going to 2 and 30. And another easy one is because it's a multiple of 10. You can go 6 and 10. Another one that's easy is 5s, because you can count by 5s. So 5 times 12 would be 60. Another one we can do is 3. And 3 times 20 is 60. And last but not least is 4 and 15. All right, and that will do it for now. If you have any questions, you can always ask me, and hope this was helpful. Take care.